Who's Blarg?
Who's Blarg? Where do you see Blarg?
The D&D Beyond overlay.
Oh, I got to switch that. Okay. Well, hey, we're live and we're talking about stuff and welcome. Who's Blarg? That's great. I will try to go in and do that while we are conversing. I'm Wiley Hobbit. This is our channel. Hey, KY Hawkeye, what's going on, my man? Congratulations on your Cincinnati Bengals. That is a sports ball reference for those of you who are nerd purists. Um, Woo! So, here we are once again. Dave, did you say it had been 5 weeks since we last uh, graced the internet with our
It
presence?
was it was December 6th of 2021.
Yeah, so that's a long time, far longer than I'd like. But I am the reason for that particular season. I was the one that kind of called pause on that with a new job and a lot of stuff going on heading into the holidays. So I just needed to hit pause and collect myself. And so we're back for D&D. We're going to go to a bi-weekly cadence. So every other Monday, we're going to try to do our thing as consistently as we may. And so what I thought we'd do tonight for our large audience that we've amassed over the years, our audience of like four, um, is tonight we'll kind of recap a little bit. We'll go back into some backstory of the characters and reacquaint you with who they are. For the later characters, Viz and Rance, they came into the game much later. Rue and Ronvin are OGs, right? They're originals, original goodness. We'll find out a little bit, kind of refresh ourselves with backstory. We'll get a better, maybe a deeper introduction from each player as who they are as a person, as much as I wish to reveal. And then we'll maybe spend a little time talking about the narrative itself, what's been going on, how we've gotten to where we are, get ourselves caught up, and then at some point we'll probably play some D's and some D's. So, without any further ado, we'll start with the OGs. And out of sheer politeness and reverence for the lone lady of our group, we will start with Ronvin. So maybe start by just who the heck are you behind the character? What do you want to tell us in our audience about who you are?
Well, I'm Vivacia or Vivi, because sometimes Vivacia is kind of hard to say. Um, so I game a lot. I read a lot. I got a munchkin that is about to turn 5 on the 31st.
Ooh.
She is a BUTT, but she's mine. She got that from me, I guess. Um, else, well, kind of like all over the place. I'm kind of boring,
Thanks,
middle age hits.
Jen. Jen's laying advantages on me already. That's
Oh, and we
outstanding.
just started.
Yeah.
No, and yeah, and for this game, I wanted somebody who was a little naive, but had something in her background that she still had to find out about herself. So she is actually Ronvin is a native of the Dalelands. She's actually from Misty Vale. I remember that totally. She grew up in a forge um, with her dad. Her mother had been gone since she was little, and her uncle, the dwarf who ran the forge, and her dad was like a leather worker. So she was always putzing around with all kinds of stuff. And because she got both sides, now she's an artificer. She actually built herself a little companion, which is a little penny swoops,
Mm-hmm.
which is a sparrow. Which she has imbued with like a light spell that she can touch penny swoops, and it's like a little clockwork bird basically. But she actually met all the others, Ronvin, because she kept having dreams about doing good and needing to go to help somebody, and she wasn't really quite sure why or how, and then she fell in with all the others, and she's been with that ever since. And I mean, she found out a little bit more about herself. We lost some people, like they left, not
Yeah, we haven't lost anyone.
we haven't lost anyone,
Right.
but yeah, some of the friends that she made around the way, they left. She found out that she's not really as human as she thought she was.
That's right.
Yes, that on some point she really thought the wizard was messing with her. That first off he kept putting milk in her tea, which she hates like the pest, and then suddenly she would sprout wings, and she seriously thought that was him for the longest until she finally figured out that she is probably an Azamar and she has an angel guide that sometimes sends her dreams.
Yes, and if memory serves, you've actually had almost a conversation with this
Yeah, Serafina.
Seraphina.
Serafina.
Hmm.
Serafina is an angel guide who's very down to earth and full of humor, and so has sent her dreams for the longest, but she never realized that it was anything until Serafina thought she was ready, and then just kept nudging her into the right direction. And she did get some visions that especially before we were going to Mystara.
The star, yep.
Yeah, Mystara, so that we were supposed to be kind of careful there,
Yeah,
which we definitely did because there was a lot going on over there.
there
She
sure
also,
was.
right in the beginning, was thrown into a complete crisis of morals because it was like, what animals do we eat, and what animals are not okay to eat? Okay, we eat pigs, but turtles? No, we don't eat turtles.
Yes,
So yeah, that was
Ronvin has lived a pretty sheltered life tucked away in Mistledale.
yeah,
Um, and now
and
she's kind
now
of
she
out in the wide
keeps
world. Yeah.
yeah, and she keeps adopting animals like
Party pets, yes.
yeah,
Yes.
sheep and our little draft horse, not little, but you know what I mean. She was very upset when that draft horse got hurt.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. All right. Excellent. So Ronvin on a journey of discovery, for sure. So let's go to our other, by comparison, our other graybeard, our other OG, Rue Shahar. What's going on, Andrew? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hey everyone, my name is Andrew, also known as Fellowship of the Tables. You may see me around the Discord. I've been playing D&D for about 4 years now. Just started playing more on the Pathfinder side of things, which has been a lot of fun. Um, yeah, I live in Virginia, just outside of DC, with my wife and two little boys, where we've got about 3 inches of snow on the ground right now.
I'm on the south side of Virginia. We always get rain. It
Count your
hypes us
blessings.
up, and then it will always be rain.
So, Rue Shahar is a curious one. And all these characters are pretty curious in their own way. So, what's Rue all about? Give us maybe a little background, that which you wish to share that's already become canon in the game.
Yeah, sure. So I created Rue. He's a pretty edgy character, a lot edgier than I usually play. And so this has been a bit of a challenge for me. But I created him by rolling out of the tables in Xanathar's Guide. I actually streamed myself doing it at one point, and rolled a bunch of things about his history, and then put it together into a coherent backstory, which turned out to be a lot of fun. So he is a changeling rogue. Um, he has had a difficult past, and uh, we know that he's had a history with the Zentarum, not a good history. Um, we know that his history includes apparently having had some sort of relationship with one Luella Blackhand, who is a member of the Zentarum that we have run into now once, and we've heard secondhand stories about. Um, anyway, Rue is clearly on a path to try to redeem himself for, um, you know, uh, for crimes that he sees of himself in the past. trying to do better and trying to kind of get back to his happy place by sort of recalling the memories he has of his mother when he was very young, who was a cleric. And so he's been trying to figure out what it means now to have faith and what that, if that might help him to sort of redeem himself. We also know out of character, although I don't think anybody knows this in character, he also has a sister in this town of Dagger Falls, who is the who runs a little dessert pastry bakery out of the Chesterford Arms called Din's Desserts and what's it called? Din's
I think it's Din's Desserts and Delights, maybe.
something like that. So um, he's been very happy to reconnect with her, but also very worried that somebody might learn of his connection to her and make use of that, and that she would be hurt as a result. And so he's been very secretive about his relationship with her.
Din's Dumplings and Desserts.
There it is.
Yes. So, thank you, Andrew, Fellowship of the Tables, and Vivi, for kind of reacquainting us with some backstory. Roles in the party so far. Ronvin, what do you see? Like, how do you see Ronvin's role in the party?
I mean, I think after Calavera left, she was a little bit more of a moral compass, but before she was like the little happy person, the little optimism in it all. The we can make do person, because she could make do with whatever she could, putting it together as an artificer. So, and now we'll have to see with her friends, going on to other places and leaving them, and the story moving on, and figuring out more about her backstory. Is she actually going to be as happy, you know or is she going to be a little bit more touchy about things, because everything's a little bit less clear now? Before, she knew exactly who she was and what she was doing, and now suddenly she doesn't really know who she is and where she's going, and what happened to her mom, and who was her mom really, because she really doesn't have much memories about her mom, and what is her purpose in life.
Yeah,
Well,
all
that's
of
going to
that's
be interesting.
been all of that has been called into question. Some things have been revealed, but only partially.
Yep.
So yeah, and you've kind of gone from the optimistic, sort of innocent, to a little dented and scratched in places morally, maybe. Not that you've done anything wrong, but you've seen some wrongness and some evil, and you're like, whoa, haven't seen
Yeah.
that before. So
Things are
interesting.
more gray instead of black and
Yeah.
white.
Yeah, and the bubble wrap is off, right? The bubble wrap
Yep.
of Mistledale is gone.
Yep.
Yep, for sure. Okay, so Rue, how does Rue see his role in the Company of the Iron Phoenix?
Um, I think uh, he's kind of sort of a de facto leader, just in that he's been around the company the longest, or one of the longest with Ronvin. So he feels like people at least look to him and Ronvin for answers about like what the group is. But honestly, he just tries to make himself useful. He does not have a very high opinion of himself, and so he winds up trying to prove himself, to the point of being heroic stupid sometimes, and he styles himself as a merchant, but in actuality, he does not have very much charisma, and so that that winds up being pretty awkward if he tries to be the face of the party. So yeah, I think he tries to be useful, and he tries to dispense justice, the justice of the party, as much as he can, um, without really trying to uh, enforce his own morality on situations because he doesn't trust his own moral compass.
Which is interesting, um, in that he's just discovering this thing called faith.
Mhm.
And a monitor is the deity with whom he's becoming acquainted. Although there's been some proximity to the Temple of Lathander that has sort of colored his view of faith. So I think Rue sounds to me like he's a little bit undecided where he's going.
Well, he grew up with his mother was a cleric of a monitor, and so that was sort of his like default. Like, if I'm going to get back to religion, it seems like it should be that. And he
Right.
also has good memories of his mother's faith. However, um, he was a little bit chagrined by his experiences with Lathander, or sorry, with a monitor in Mystara, and also there happens to be this very handy local temple of Lathander in Dagger Falls, and so he's kind of leaning more in that direction these days.
Interesting indeed. Very interesting. I think it's also interesting that Rue seems to be more comfortable. You mentioned this lack of charisma. It seems he's almost better at playing someone not himself than he is at being himself. Like when you have to
Yeah.
be Rue and the face of the party together, that's where the awkward comes in. But you play the merchant well. He has a big role to play should the party decide to go down that road with the plan to impersonate, in the form of a change, with your changing abilities, impersonate Luwala Blackhand, this Zentarum agent. So it's kind of an interesting thing that when he's forced to be himself is when he's least confident.
Yes.
Kind of
Definitely
interesting. Very interesting. All right, so let's flip to our newer party members. And I guess we'll just go in alphabetical order because you two joined the party actually at the same time. Is that right? Or did you come before Rance?
Oh, shit. The mute button and the video button are too close together. My apologies. I hope I didn't screw up yeah, I did.
Don't sweat it. So did you get here before Rance? You came with Fix, didn't you?
I actually came before Fix.
That's right. We found Fix in a field right after you showed up.
That's right. So yeah, I was with the party before Rance, and we had myself, Fix, then Wisteria, and then Rance. But it was all so close together, it hardly matters.
Gotcha. Well, since you're talking, let's go with Viz.
In terms of characters, yeah, this one is one of the newer vintage. Our OGs, or original characters are Ronvin and Rue. For anyone who's watched before, I was actually playing a different character before that, but we don't talk about them anymore. But yeah,
That's
no,
right.
I retired my mechanical buddy because I had talked myself into a corner.
Yeah, you chose a really tough RP with that. You played a Warforged, so out of the Eberron kind of pantheon, if you will, had a really creative, excellent backstory that had gears placed in Faerun, in the Forgotten Realms, where our game takes place. But my goodness, playing a Warforged, the only Warforged to our knowledge, in a world of sentient beings was a minefield. And so, yeah. here we are with Viz. So first of all, tell us a little bit about Dave.
Oh, well, Dave. Dave is, let's see, how can I put this? I can use the Dilbert aphorism. I am someone who likes to both con and insult people. Or, as some people call it, as Dogbert called it, a consultant.
I like it.
So, so I am actually a consultant. I work in the field of document management in terms of who I am professionally. Personally, I'm a caregiver for one of my family members who has Alzheimer's, and trying to live as normal a life as possible out of that. I really have gotten back into D&D after being away from gaming for about 25 years. And I saw Scott's call on Twitter for players, starting a new channel, starting a new thing. I am normally not this talkative, but I can talk a blue streak when I want to, and I feel comfortable enough. So I do appreciate the group that we have and that we've been through. This has helped me crank out a bit out of the old shell, as it were. And just as an aside about Gears, he was being played by me as a bit of my own archetype in terms of being very withdrawn and quiet, especially among groups, especially among strangers. And it became increasingly more obvious to me that this was not going to be a winning solution unless something dramatic happened to the character. So I chose to make the change. And as a result, I have chosen to take almost the diametric opposite of Gears. And Gears
That's
was
very
a,
fair.
a nearly 7 foot tall Warforged who aspired to become a dreadnought, which is one of the classes of Warforged in Eberron. And they're huge, they're massive. But anyway, um, I'm now playing Viz. And that doesn't sound like much, except that you realize that I decided when fairies were still unearthed arcana, and Scott very graciously allowed this to happen. Uh, I chose to play another fighter because we still need a fighter in the group. And yeah, so I'm an 18-inch tall little pound of chaos and absolute insanity.
So you are.
Who is a lot more outgoing and vivacious than Gears ever was. A little more fragile as well, but yeah, that's what happens when you go from being a metal man to a tiny meat sack. Viz absolutely adores using his people openers to throw at things. Oh, sorry, daggers. And he's actually in Faerun for a reason. And it was funny because we ran into the party at a thinness in the Vale, and at that point, uh, an Eladrin got out. Nobody saw him, and brought with him a certain number of the Dark Fae Court, the Unseelie, to who knows why, but Viz thinks it was to create a diversion so that this Eladrin could get away. The Eladrin had a price on his head, which Viz is looking to uh, take up on because the Queen Titania of the Light Court has put that bounty on his head because he refused to, well, frankly, play for the Queen in her court. So it's all a little weird, and it is Fey politics, and at some point we have to work out, how all of that stuff is going to come together. I wouldn't say the Fey are nuts, but quite frankly, they don't have the same moral standards or standings as mortals in the normal realm, if you want to call it that. And so Viz is sort of adapting, hanging with this group right now because it's far more interesting than trying to catch a bounty that's who's probably miles away by now, but he will get them eventually. Trying to avoid pointed questions from our local rogue who's okay, I would say occasionally, but has asked me on more than one occasion how I intend to catch this person, much less even have a notion of finding them. And I don't know if he's got the impression yet that Biz doesn't have a freaking clue. He's just having too much fun, and he doesn't really care at this point. But he does know he does have to actually do the thing at some point. Who knows? We may end up going to the Fey realms at some point with a captive Eldrin in hand. Who knows?
I'm sure that will end well.
Oh, absolutely. He has to be alive. That's the tough part. Most bounty hunters are sort of like dead or alive. This has to be alive. The guy has to sing for the court. So who knows? It could go badly.
Excellent. All right, so that's a peek behind the veil. See what I did there? For Viz. Do you have a longer name, Viz? Wasn't Viz like a greatly shortened
This
version
is
of
the shortened version, and it's deliberate because names are power in the Fey realm.
Yes.
So Viz is all that has really been shared officially.
Okay, well we'll put that back in the bottle. Whoop.
Yeah.
Tighten the cork.
For an out of game experience, though, the name that Viz has is Vismal Marlevaur. Sorry, I had this when I created the character, and I can't quite get my tongue around it.
He was drunk when he created the name.
Daktosh. I actually don't drink anymore, so as my mother says, you don't drink any less either. Well, I don't.
Nice.
That would be funny if it weren't true. No, I don't get drunk anymore. So it's that's that fun. Those fun days are over. I'm too old for that shit, as they say.
Oh yeah.
Me and booze don't get along.
I hear you, man.
Viz is just the short version of that because, as I said, per all of the canon lore now, names have power in the Fey realm. So revealing the full name is just a big no-no.
At one's own discretion.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sort of like speaking the name of a devil, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly
right.
like that, actually. It's
So-
all about the deal making.
That's right. All about the deal. The art of the deal. Okay, so this brings us to our fourth companion, our fourth member, also new to the mix, fourth member of the company, the Iron Phoenix, which are, interestingly enough, just redid the charter on this trip back to Dagger Falls. I think that was probably one of the more recent errands when you've come back from the road. So, Rance, first of all, let's meet the player behind the character, Mateus. Tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Hey, I'm Matthew Mateus. I'm fairly new to D&D, though not new to RPGs and tabletop gaming. I've only been playing D&D for maybe about 2 years, but I've been playing various tabletop RPGs for about 10. Intro to D&D was like Pathfinder and then 5th edition, and now my favorite edition is Moldve Basic Expert because it just rocks. But 5e is good too. I've got a beautiful wife. I've got 3 kids, and my day job is being a level 1 cleric. So, that means I don't get to cast spells, unfortunately, in the old system. Yeah. So, and I play Rance Rumblood. Rance Rumblood is a pirate. Based off of stereotypical pirate archetypes. I'm thinking Long John Silver from that old color movie, and of course Johnny Depp's what's his name?
Jack something or other.
Jack Sparrow.
There you go.
Just your stereotypical pirate guy. So he's a level 5 rogue swashbuckler, which seems to be the pirate archetype, at least in canon. He is from Scardale. Scardale is a rough and tumble place. I think in current Faerun lore, it is recently been put back under control. So he's from Scardale. He from a young age, maybe like 10, 12, he served as a cabin boy, and he spent most of his life aboard pirate ships, um, going all around the Sea of Fallen Stars, pirating. He worked his way all the way up to the eminent position of quartermaster when they were chasing some quarry, and the quarry ended up calling the assistance of the Zentarim to help them. Their ship was taken by the Zents, and most of his crew was killed, and he was given the choice of face death or join the Zents. So he joined up with the Zents out of Zentil Keep, kind of played around the Moonsea area for a month or so before he took his leave of them and made his way to Dagger Falls, where he was employed by Asha Tanner of the Winding Trail. He discovered some plot that she was smuggling. I forget what the item was now, but she was smuggling stuff for the Zents, and put a bad taste in his mouth. He was able to. He reported it to the what is his name? Zal.
Mm-hmm. Zal,
Yeah.
Constable Zal of Dagger Falls.
Constable Zal, yeah. Reported it to him, and Constable Zal basically grabbed the company of the Iron Phoenix and said, "Oh, all right, you filthy pirate, I can either hang you or we can put you to work with the Iron Phoenix." And so he kind of was thrown into the situation, but and has adventured with them for a little while, and as of late has signed on to the charter. It's better than working at a wagon shop, and he might even get a chance to stick it to those Zents.
He might. Yeah, so now I'll ask you two the same question that I asked Ronvin and Rue. Since we're with Rance, we'll stay with you, sir. What do you see? And it's only been, you've been basically out from Dagger Falls on one trip with the group. There's been some escapades for sure. Some combat, harrowing, or maybe not too harrowing, but what do you see as Rance's role so far? You've been with the party, what is it, probably a week or less, give or take, in game time?
Rance is he's quick thinking. I think Rance is pretty quick thinking. He's got some pretty high perception and deception. He also knows the coastal regions pretty well.
Yeah.
And has some what's the word? Some experience with the Zents.
Mm-hmm.
He's also half decent in a fight. So he's proved himself useful in battle, and just kind of quick thinking, that kind of thing. More of the strategic type.
When he's not fully in his cups, yes.
He's got in his backpack, or he's got a secret lair, which opens up and it contains 2 bottles of rum, which he tries to keep full at all times.
I mean, a man's got to have, sustenance.
He has to make Constitution saves when he's sober.
Yes. Fair enough. Okay, so let's flip back to Viz. So a little strategy, a little information / intel from Rance, and handy with a blade. Best when sober, usually. Yeah. How about Viz? What's your role?
Viz is Viz can fly. This is usually the big thing.
This is most useful. It is causing the dungeon master consternation.
Constipation. There's fiber for that.
Right.
Viz is also an avowed agent of chaos and has done some questionably tactically unsound things, like grabbing a stone with a darkness spell cast on it and charging straight at the enemy. That was fun. That was actually quite dangerous, but that happened.
That happened.
Baited one of our current mid-level big bad guys, maybe, in terms of Asha Tanner in her own lair.
Paid a visit to her shop, her residence, actually, and mocked her whilst unseen.
Stole from her. Got away without getting shot, which I thought was pretty impressive. You came pretty close to, I think, to detecting me. And is generally, well, let's put it this way. He's an airhead. Very colorful, very florid, very flirtatious, complete total airhead. And that's kind of fun, actually. He's also a very tactical in terms of being more of a ranged character. So he will sit at particular range, being specialized in throwing daggers. And I recently picked up the sharpshooter feat, so guess what? Cover ain't gonna matter anymore.
Yes, because we did level up to 6. I need to update the overlay. We did level up to 6. So I got to get that updated. So you picked up sharpshooter.
I did. So that will improve the range skills. And as I said, daggers are the specialty. Has a racer of flying daggers that just seem to provide an endless source of sharp, pointy things to throw at people and things when the time comes. But it's been mostly people. I don't know. This realm, people just seem to want to get up in your face.
Weird, right?
Yeah, no. Especially that last encounter with all the poison arrows. That was just nasty.
Yeah, the Zentarum don't necessarily fight fair. They fight for absolute advantage. That's for certain. Speaking of lack of moral compass. All right, so we've got a pretty good recap now of the party. Again, it's just this is session 49. We've been playing the game, about a year and a half probably on the calendar. We haven't been able to be regular and consistent just because life stuff, and that's fine. It's not a theatrical production. So we thought, gosh, since we've had a break, why not come back off of that, kind of recap the characters, and now I think what we'll do is we'll recap the story a little bit. So the name of the game is Mysteries in Dagger Falls, which just means we're going to play D&D in the Dalelands as a sandbox, and things will happen. And the party, for one reason or another, found themselves in Dagger Falls at the start of this. There were three different party members. As you can see, we have 6 windows. We had Calavera, who is a cleric of the Grave Domain. I believe she was a fire genasi. Yep. We had Algernon Altano, yes, Al. He was a divination wizard, human
from Chult.
Chult, a human variant from Chult. And we had Fragili, who was a warlock of the Raven Queen and an Azamar. Really interesting, balanced party personalities. Once the party kind of got established and they met Lord Cormeril, who is the second family of Daggerdale. He's the Lord of Daggerdale, established through the Kingdom of Cormyr. They like to, affectionately refer to Lord Cormeril as Lord Cornmeal. He's the rich, hoity-toity Lord guy. There's a keep, the Lord's Keep. It's a town of, I don't remember, a couple thousand souls at the most. But they became acquainted with Lord Cormero and basically became, I wouldn't say sword arms, but beholden to the community of Dagger Falls, sort of on retainer. And this ultimately led to chartering an adventuring party under the name the Company of the Iron Phoenix for public consumption, but they actually have a little bit of a different arrangement behind the scenes because there's been some, well, oddly enough, some mysteries befall the Dalelands. Who knew? An object had been brought into their midst by, we're still not sure who, but it was a dagger, a very special, fancy, nice dagger that turned out to be, I'll spare you too many of the details, but it turned out to be cursed. And its possessor was a dagger of discord. And its possessor had become, I guess the best word for it is really cranky. Sort of along the lines of the Ring of Power that Gollum had all those years. You know, it sort of began, certainly not to the extent that it affected Gollum, but certainly began to eat away at Lorivar. He was the owner and elven proprietor of the Dagger Reforged Tavern and Inn. And the presence of the dagger began to cause, people to fight who never had a crossword with one another. There was foodstuffs going bad well in advance of their, failed date. People had come up missing, some children. All manner of things began to happen in Dagger Falls. And through this, that, and the other thing, it was determined that this dagger was at the center of these disturbances, this discord, if you will. So the party was... they brought in a wizard from, I can't remember which Dale, but at any rate, they brought in a wizard named Rauntidas, who was able to determine the dagger's origin. And it turns out that the dagger was from an entirely different planet, Mystara, which is a planet, actually the Keep on the Borderlands. Module B1 from back in the basic edition, right, is set on Mystara, if I'm not mistaken. Matt, can you back me up on that?
That's
I know
correct.
I know you like to run games in Mystara.
Set in the kingdom of Karamikos.
Okay, I will take your word for that. At any rate, the party was sent with dagger in hand to return it to its rightful owner, this fellow in a mountain, Black Claw Mountain, in a just a very out of the way outpost under the mountain, inside the mountain. The what was that called? Deep Delver's Enclave. And so the party was transported magically by Rauntidas and experienced no end of interesting adventures and things before finally getting this dagger into the hands of its rightful possessor, who happened to turn out to be a Rakshasa that Ronvin didn't much care for. And they made a deal, as is customary with Rakshasa, being of the plane of Avernus, one of the nine hells. And they managed to get out of there, long story short. But Calavera and Al seem to be quite taken with the Grendel route, the Black Claw Mountain, the magic, the energy there, Deep Delver's Enclave, the people. In fact, Al had become quite smitten with a wizardess who ran the library there. And so they decided to stay. And the party returned through magical means. And upon returning... they came back through the spell, found themselves in a cabin in the woods of the border forest, north and northeast of Dagger Falls. And there was this note there that said, hey, there's more weirdness going on. There's Fae are believed to have somehow leaked into the prime material plane. Could you maybe have a look? And this led to that, and this is where we met Viz. They took down a pair of displacer beasts, I believe. And what was that was leading those?
Fomorian.
Oh,
A Fomorian, yes. Yeah, and so they patched up the veil, the aperture, if you will, between this plane and the Feywild. Completely sealed. No problems with that at all. Airtight, I'm sure. Totally holds water. Not even a little bit of a breeze gets through that bunch of rocks you guys put in front of that veil. Totally
Not
cool.
even a fairy fart.
Not even a fairy fart. Nor any whiffle dust. At any rate, so this led to that, and they got that all straightened out and back to Dagger Falls. And by this time, they're becoming fairly well known in some quarters. They kind of have their run of the place with regard. They're not ever questioned by the constabulary. No such trifles because of their, the company, the Iron Phoenix, and their heroes. And yet, somehow, after all of this, and the gaining of friend Viz, and then we have Fix and Wisteria, who joined the party for a brief stint. In fact, we discovered Fix in a field on the way back from the encounter with the Fae after we had met Viz. And I don't recall, I think Wisteria sort of manifested in town and met the party through more like you meet in a tavern sort of means. But personally, Preston and Sydney had to step away from the game, sadly. What a ray of sunshine they were at our table. But they had to go hang out with some life things, and so they're unable to join us. I'll have to erase them from the overlay, which sads me because they're just beautiful people. But that's how we've come to find ourselves with this group of 4 individuals. Now, Rance, you ended up taking work at the Winding Trail, which is a very popular establishment. It's an outfitter. Asha Tanner is the proprietor. And the most recent arc narrative, there have still been issues in Dagger Falls with missing people. Again, children, youth, short people missing. By short people, I just mean halflings, dwarves, demi-humans. Caravans. Entire caravans and their goods and their armed escorts intercepted is what's presumed. Goods not making it to or from Dagger Falls, depending on the case where the caravan was heading. And so, once again, pressed into service, the company of the Iron Phoenix, now with Viz and Rance in tow, have been tapped to investigate this. And the first bit of investigation led them beneath the city of Dagger Falls, into some tunnels that are quite old in nature. They've been around a long time. By the way, our population is north of 15,000, so a little bit bigger community than I had, or that's the whole Dale, excuse me, the whole region. At any rate, they go down to these tunnels to investigate a missing person. A local stable boy wanting to impress one of the servers from the Teshford Arms, where the party sort of, that's the inn where they kind of headquarter, if you will. He took her into these tunnels to impress her and to give her a tale to tell to some other youngsters who had been kind of bullying her and giving her no end of grief, only to have something go catastrophically wrong. Darkness strikes them, and when he comes to, she's gone. So the party is hired to go down there and find out what's the matter, and they discover that there's an operation of some sort going on down there. There were hobgoblins? What else did we have down in the tunnels beneath Dagger Falls?
We had hobgoblins. There was a monster that you picked out of one of your new books, which was really cool.
Yeah, somewhere in there, the DM picked up Kobold Press's Tome of Beasts, and I inflicted them with some pain out of that book.
And you also threw a very crafty dark elf at us.
There was a dark elf that manifested as you were kind of wrapping things up, and you discovered a secret entrance from the last sort of the tunnels themselves are part of Dagger Falls, and one goes up and around and under the Lord's Keep, and one goes under and up into the Temple of Lathander, and one leads outside the wall to the west, and another into a kind of a cavern, and it is in this cavern, and this is the only natural cavern in this very small tunnel system. They entered under the Red Rock Tavern, northeast of town, outside the walls of Dagger Falls. All worked stone, very old. And the town fathers were aware of the tunnels. What they were not aware of was the secret door. And what was curious were there were salt crystals sprinkled on the floor in like far greater quantity than one might think there should be. Very odd. So they followed the salt down into the tunnels, and long story short, they discovered and hopefully ended a salt mining operation. There were 2 salt devils. There were deceased and still employed slaves. Sadly, they located the young lady, by the way, who was missing. She's deceased. They also located a number of smaller people who had been pressed apparently into slavery by these salt devils, mining salt, packing it into barrels. And lo and behold, what symbol was on those barrels?
Zentarum.
Yes, so it turns out because a cache of weapons was found, and it turns out that perhaps there was a deal between the Zentarum and these 2 salt devils, salt for weapons trade. And as you know, the devils, all the devils, are embroiled in the endless blood war with the demons in the abyss and the plains of hell. So it seems that the Zentarum were profiting with this. This salt was exquisite, by the way, very, very fine quality. And all of this is happening beneath the streets of Dagger Falls, unbeknownst to Zal, the constable, and the constabulary, and Lord Cornmeal. But our friend Rance, the linchpin. And yes, the young lady was deceased, but she did got better at the hands of the High Lord, the Morn Master. Thank you, High Morn Master, Orvin something. Yeah,
Stumblebum.
Yeah, he cast something
Orville
really.
Redenbacher?
Orville Redenbacher is not his name.
So basically, what we were engaged in was a saga of assault and battery. No?
See what I
Too
have to
much?
deal with, people, as a dungeon master? I'm sure all you DMs can relate to my pain and suffering. At any rate, so they fleshed out this whole salt for weapons, and Rance had seen some salt barrels while he's working at the Winding Trail for Asha Tanner. And there's this suspicion that somehow proprietor Asha Tanner may be actually in cahoots, or maybe unbeknownst to her, she's a patsy. Who knows? But there's some connection to this salt mining for weapons with the Zentarum. And it is here that we start to pick up our most recent tale. The party's faced with some decisions because we have to get to the bottom of this, right? Like the salt mining operation was shut down, treasure was gained and things, and the young lady was resurrected, it was raised dead, I believe. And it was the High Morn Master Harndar Orin who brought her back to life in the Temple of Lathander. And this is where Rue starts to kind of pick up some of that, that's shiny and new interest in the Morning Lord and the faith. And all we really keep doing as a party is unearthing more questions. So we have 2 major situations here. We have this deal with Asha Tanner and the Winding Trail. Is there or is there not some involvement with her and the Zentarum, or are there agents who have infiltrated her operation perhaps, and they're operating unbeknownst to her? But something nefarious was established, and we still haven't gotten to the bottom of that. And one of the plans is to have Rue, in the person of Luala Blackhand, who has been seen on premises talking with Asha Tanner by Rance, who happens to work there. Very handy. So we've established a connection, perhaps. And so Rue, who happens to have had some sort of connection to Luala Blackhand and the Zentarum, I'm sure completely on the up and up, given that he knows her, he's able, as a changeling, to essentially personify her, become her visually. So it feels to me, correct me if I'm wrong, Rue, it feels to me that he's kind of scraping together the courage to try and pull this off. He wants to show up and talk with Asha Tanner in the person of Luala Blackhand and see what he can learn. but we haven't decided to pull the trigger on that one yet.
Yeah, he was ready to pull the trigger on it, but the party decided that it should wait until after we investigated this caravan.
Yes, the other piece of big business here that has, this nefarious whatever's happening around Dagger Falls is the disappearance of caravans, and Lord Cormeril is expecting a load of rather expensive and valuable antiquities and things, along with some other typical gear that will be traded along the east-west trade road between Dagger Falls and Flan or Hillsfar, the Moonsea, even the Keep. Sometimes Dagger Falls will trade with Zental Keep, believe it or not. Almost nearly dead. You're correct, KY Hawkeye. Caravans have disappeared, and so the party dispatched eastward to see if they could determine what was at the bottom of that. And they seem to have found some clues. They were put upon by a group of, I guess for lack of a better term, thugs, whilst exploring, camping along the road, trying to appear to be merchants. Like, oh, hey, I seem to be lost in the wild and unable to defend myself. Whatever shall I do? In hopes of attracting some nefariousness. And they did. But what the Nefarians weren't counting on was they stumbled upon Rance, who happened to be in the bag. Ronvin was tinkering as she does. And if I remember correctly, there was a dude who rode up on horseback, thug type, and then a couple others kind of tried to, maybe two of them rode up, and then another one was sneaking around under the watchful eye of the fairy, mind you. And they decided to attack Ronvin and Vance, not realizing that Rue had gone off into the darkness to do goodness knows what. And Viz spends much of his time fluttering about 15 to 20 feet into the air, mostly as a watchkeeper. And it is just darn good fortune that he did do that at that time, because they were able to get the jump on the people who thought they were getting the jump on them. So it's like a reverse double back jump. And the day was won. Things were said, mistakes were made, and thugs died. The party encountered the caravan they had gone out there to intercept and escort back. They were shooed away by some Zentarum mercenary sword arms who were apparently hired and accompanying the caravan. And on the way out to their camping place, they happened to see a trail that looked to be rather new and forged, also known as a DM hook, that led them overland north away from the trail, northeast, to this area of large stones, boulders, rocky outcroppings, arranged roughly in a circle. And it is there they discovered some freshly turned earth, several piles, in fact, and some dead campfires. And speaking of dead, they found a number of deceased constabulary, city watch, if you will, of Dagger Falls, who had been presumably accompanying a caravan. They also found the load from the caravan, and all kinds of nice things, didn't we, kids? But they also discovered a trail leading further northwest out of this ring of standing stones, which was about, I want to say it was like 37, 38 miles, sticks in my mind, east of Dagger Falls along the east-west trade road, the Tesh Trail, which follows the Tesh River. And so now they have this curiosity because they found, signs of, the buried soldiers were buried hastily, signs of an encampment, a good bit of what looked to be booted foot traffic and wagon traffic heading back up that trail off in the direction of the border forest, northeast of Dagger Falls. But that's from where they were at the time. That was probably a day and a half ride. So they elected to go back to Dagger Falls and follow the caravan to see to it that it arrived safely, which they did, and it did. And when we last were together, they were meeting with Zal to debrief and set a plan. And as the conversation went, if memory serves, They were to investigate an area called Snowmantle. Zal had given them some local lore, some history. Snowmantle was an old settlement of farm folk, wood folk, maybe a druid, maybe some elves, long ago, not far from Dagger Falls. And this had been, Dagger Falls has a history with the Zentarum. In fact, for a time, Dagger Falls was actually in the hands of the Zentarum until Randall Morn, the original Lord of Daggerdale, came back to reclaim and restake his family's interest in Dagger Falls. But Snowmantle was a community that had been raised by quite an earth quakey sort of event, earth elemental quake thing that nobody's really sure. Great magics. In fact, Elminster himself had been there to investigate and had helped in the ridding of Daggerdale of the Zentarum. But Snowmantle has this legendary history. It's about, as the crow flies, maybe 25, 26 miles northeast of Dagger Falls. One must travel into and back out of the border forest to get there. Very close, in fact, to the track that was taken that would lead the party right back in the very area of that cabin and the Vale to the Feywild, the crossing. But beyond that, well beyond that. And therein lie the ruins of Snowmantle. So let me give you a little better history, and that will kind of set up our meeting with Zal. So, gosh, this village of Snowmantle goes all the way back to 11th century Dale reckoning. We are 1492, so the 11th century would have been the 1200s, is that right? Yeah. No, the 1000s. I always get that backwards. No.
Yeah, you got it. 1000s.
The 1000s. Okay. So we're in the 15th century because it's 1492. So it's a 400 plus year old town. It was pretty peaceful, quiet, and of course the Zentarum saw to it that came to an end. And it was used mostly as a Zentarum outpost at one point, perhaps. The citizens, the Hypsils, and even this isolated group of elves known as the Lost came to the aid, but to no avail. The Zentarum took it over and actually used it as a slave labor camp. You see, the Zentarum are an enterprising group. They're not necessarily in and of themselves evil, but they do bad things. They're greedy. They're most lawful. There's hierarchy there. It's an organization. Think organized crime, medieval. And they like to make money. And so nowadays you're kind of experiencing the softer, gentler Zentarum. They'll hire out as sellswords. They'll be teamsters. They'll guard things. They'll transport things. That's what they're known for. But back in the day, anything they could make a buck at, right? And of course, this large forest that borders the Dalelands, known as, of all things, the Border Forest, was full of old growth hardwood lumber. And so the Zentarum, in order to build Zental Keep and other things, they ran a lumber slave camp in Snowmantle. And in fact, as recent as 1369, so a little over 100 years ago, the Zentarum were there. And the namesake of Snowmantle, the family that originally settled it, the Snowmantles, but there was a descendant, Lanceril Snowmantle. When he had heard that the Zents had occupied it, he brought some of the Knights of Mithranor and some harpers. He called for their aid to go reclaim Snowmantle, and neither would come because they were too busy. And so he set about connecting with the intelligent Fae of the Border Forest, and they just began to raid and hit in and out, quick raids, sabotage, little skirmishes and things. But he was caught by the Zentarum mages and imprisoned there. And so finally, Lord Morngrim Amcathra of Shadowdale hired a group of adventurers to free Lancero, as Lancero Snowmantle and Morngrim Amcathra were friends back in the day, as you will. And so they snuck into Snowmantle disguised as merchants and were able to overpower the Zentarum and free Lancero. But in doing so, the village was mostly destroyed because there was this great explosion of earth and rock. And legend has it, the tale says that this great, enormous nature stone earth elemental burst out of the ground and leveled most of the town, much of the town. No one's really sure the fate of the Zentarum and the slaves. But that's the tale of Snowmantle. No one's really sure what became of everyone. Yeah. So go ahead.
So that's sort of the last anyone's heard is that this thing burst up out of the ground.
Yeah. Yep. And that was back in 1369 Dale Reckoning. You know, this Lord Morngrim of Shadowdale snuck in, made contact with Lancero. Lancero gave him, contact so-and-so, get with the lost, the elves, the fae. And by all of this connection, somehow this event occurred and everything went quiet. Months later, a harper, some family of Lancero Snowmantle returned to the ruins to rebuild their home, but they gave up on it after a time and left. And so it's been the ruins of Snowmantle ever since. No one really goes up there. The whole Earth Elemental and Zentarum people in Daggerdale are very wary of magic, very suspicious of strangers, and really have no purpose to be up there. And so there's been no trouble. They don't go there. And so the party finds themselves in Zal's chambers at the Constabulary in Dagger Falls, and he's just kind of completed that story for you. And I think what we'll do is we'll take a quick bio break. Okay, we'll take 5 minutes. When we come back, we're going to pick up right there in our tale. All right, so it's 8:42. We'll come back at 8:47. That would be Eastern time. And we will pick back up with our tale. So don't go away, friends, and we'll be back before you even miss us.
Hey, look at that. We're all there.
Muted.
We can hear you.
So that thing where
Yes, we
you
can.
unmute yourself and you click it and it doesn't unmute is what just happened there. Sorry about that. Thank you, KY Hawkeye, for catching that. So we're back in Dagger Falls. We're in the constabulary, in the office of Zal the constable. Zal is a 48-year-old paladin of Lathander. So everything with him is law, order, goodness, and light. Very intolerant of evil doing. He's a teetotaler. He runs the constabulary, very focused, pretty solemn. Generally, he wears his breastplate with, etched with the holy symbol, the horizon and the sunrise, the holy symbol of Lathander. 6'3", about 219, pretty fit, 48 years young, bald, and he's just kind of a badass. When he's on the road, he has a longbow, arrows. Believe he has a rather large greatsword with which to hack things. And it is in his office, and Zal has just kind of finished recounting the tale, if you will, of Snowmantle. And the reason why is because that trail from, the party had described the circle of stones, the rocks, where they found all the dead footmen and all of the contents of multiple caravans. That trail leads dead on back to the border forest, and by all accounts, it sounds like it heads right in the direction of Snowmantle. So he sits back in his chair, drinks a big drink of his water from his pewter mug, tankard, slams it down on the desk. So, what do you mean to do about this? Where do we go next?
We go to Snowmantle. I
mean, it makes sense. It's the logical next step, one would think, right?
I don't know for sure that anyone's there, but it would be an ideal staging point. It's been used by the Zents before. They're familiar with it. At least there's a history there. But it's been abandoned for 100 years.
Well, the map that we found has this spot on it, so it seems not to be abandoned anymore. There's something going on there, probably connected to the robberies on the road. So I think that we should at least go and investigate.
Sounds like the perfect place to set up if everybody thinks it's abandoned.
Nobody
will interrupt.
It is a day's ride or so, about 25, 26 miles from here. You'll have to go through the forest if you wish to make a straight line and save yourself time. You'll enter the forest. You can skirt the eaves for 10, 12 miles, and then you'll enter as the forest cuts out to the south and east. You'll cross right into it. And from there, another 8, 10 miles, and then it will thin, and you'll find the ruins on the very edge. Snowmantle was constructed under the eaves of the forest in a sort of a cove where the tree line cuts into the northwest. It offered cover from the southeast, protection from weather, and a beautiful sunset as it was open to the west.
Is the woods there too thick to ride through, or should we take mounts?
You would likely need to dismount once you need to go into the forest. I would not.
Okay, then it sounds like on foot is our best option, or
Especially
maybe
if you
for some
wish
of us.
to come in undetected, which I recommend.
Maybe somebody could take us up there with a wagon, drop us off a bit off, so that way we wouldn't have to walk all the way.
We'd be best making our way at night, seeing that night shall cover our tracks far better than the bright sunshiny day.
We could certainly escort you to the edge of the forest. Probably would be best. Well, you're familiar. You've been there. At least 3 of you have. The cabin,
Yes.
when you returned from the Grendel route. You'll follow that track into the forest, but you'll go well beyond that. He kind of looks you all over. Are any of you familiar with the border forest?
Well, it's a forest, likely on a border.
It serves numerous borders, actually. It borders between the Dragon Spine Mountains to the east and the Anarak, the Great Desert, the plain of standing stones, the Scimitar Spires to the west.
Apparently borders the Feywild as well.
There are Fey in and among the border forest. There's also an old ancient race of elves, the Lost. I've never spied upon any, but rumor has it they had much to do with the original Snowmantle and the defense of it till the Zents were able to win the day.
So since Ronvin is local, but you know she's from a little further over, would she know anything about that border forest area? Is that something that she would know about?
Yeah, you're from Mistledale, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a Schabenford, I believe, is the village that you call home. You've heard of the border forest for sure. And it's a kind of wives' tales, fairy tale. There's stories of fairies and shadowy beings, of strange and suspicious magics. Children going missing should they wander in alone. The standard fare that the children of the Dalelands are told to keep them out of there. But truth is, you don't really know much about it. In fact. You've heard of Snowmantle, but everything that Zal said about it was new information for you.
Well, at least we'll know our way to the cabin for sure.
Yeah, that'll take probably, what was it, about 8 hours to get up there? Through grasslands, hills, into the forest, and it wasn't that far. The cabin itself wasn't that far into the forest, and then I want to say it was like 2 or 3 miles beyond that. You followed a water course up to the area where that vale was. In fact, the vale was on that cold and deep little creek. So yes, we could get you wagon's ride to the forest's edge. We would. In fact, you know what? I shall come with you. I shall accompany you on this. I'm
The
concerned.
whole way?
Yes. I am concerned. And it's been a good while since I've stretched my legs.
The more the merrier.
Surely you would benefit from my jovial company. And he makes this really awkward attempt at humor, which falls flat.
Just be best be bringing your own rum.
Oh, well, there will be no need for that, lad. I don't partake of the spirits. None of them. And he kind of looks over at Viz.
Somewhere in the room, there's a tiny fart.
Yeah. Yes,
And
well,
we'll try and keep like a straight face, like, yeah, no, yeah, but we do bring mint tea so we can have tea. Yes.
yes, mint tea, of course. So, what we should do then is I'm inclined to agree with Rance here, which is troubling in and of itself. Why don't you, let's see, it is still mid-morning. Why don't you get some rest? I'll see to it that a wagon is provisioned, a team is arranged, and we will make for the border forest at sunset. How does that sound?
Aye, sounds
Good
good to
plan.
me.
All right. Meet here. And I think what we might do is cover you all in the wagon. I'll ride on the buckboard with the two constables, or deputies. And it'll be the three of us. And he kind of winks at you. That way you'll be unseen.
Sounds good.
Very well. We'll see you at sunset. And he stands up and goes over and opens the door to his office. Oh, I believe we owe you some coin. Let's see. We have crates, things to deliver. I believe I owe you 300 gold for your services on the East-West Trade Road. I'll see to it that is. Would you like that now, or would you like to like me to have it ready this evening?
Evening's good.
Yeah, this evening's fine.
Very well. Good day then. See that you rest up. It's the forest is an interesting place. My hope is to get to Snowmantle unscathed, undisturbed, but no one much goes up there anymore, so who knows what we will encounter. And he urges you to take your leave. So where do you go? What do you do? It is mid-morning, the typical bustle of the market. If you recall, in Dagger Falls, I'll go ahead and put a map up in chat, or excuse me, on stream. The constabulary is at the western end, and the stables are all behind it. And there's that open area where the market is, and so vendors, a couple of carts, some ramshackle-y stands, the usual assortment of merchants and vendors are assembled in the market square there. People are moving about on their business, and it's a bright, sunshiny morn.
Well, yeah, Runwin would have probably wanted to go check up on Pepper, the draft horse, as well as I forgot the names of the sheep. I'm a very, very bad sheep mama, but you
I
know,
don't think we
that
named
we
them.
I'm not sure the
I
sheep
think
had
we
been
did. I
named.
think one was like Clover, but I don't remember.
I thought
That
Clover
was
was a
another
horse.
horse.
That was another horse. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very bad with that. But yeah, she wants to check that they're okay and that, Pepper, since
Yeah.
Pepper got hurt.
Yeah, they're back in the stable. You can find them easily. The stable master leads you to them. The sheep are actually they've kind of put together like a small grazing area. If you look on the map of Dagger Falls, it's sort of those elongated buildings behind there's like another wall in there, I believe. And in there is a grassy area where they have the sheep staked and they're grazing. Everything seems to be in order.
Well, that's good because she was worried about Pepper getting hurt with manticores. Manticores?
Mm.
Chimeras?
Manticore.
Yeah, you
Manticore.
you had to
There
deal
were
with
tail
a
spikes
manticore.
involved.
Yep.
Yep.
You had
Yeah. Elsa, she is definitely interested in going to get some food and some cupcakes.
very well. So
Pea scones and clotted cream.
nice.
Do you remember, Wiley? I had gone to see a merchant in town about getting clothes that would fit Luala. Did I get those clothes, or was I supposed to go back for them?
Oh boy.
I can't remember.
I thought you purchased them outright. Let's go with that. Because it was a clothier who had a kind of a tent with some racks, and he had to pick some things out. And they were rather curious as to why a male merchant would be buying.
Well, no, I took a different form for that.
Oh, did you?
purchase.
Okay,
Yes.
I don't recall.
Yes, that
Yeah,
much I do
let's say
remember.
that you have those on
Okay, perfect.
on your person. Yeah.
Perfect. In that case, I think I would head over to the Teshford Arms with Rondon.
Okay. Viz and Rance, what would you like to do with your free time? You have basically most of a day, the sunlight hours of said day.
Rance wants to go and Rance wants to go pick up some, maybe half a dozen potions of healing, maybe 3 poison potions, like cure poison, because Zens.
One thing that Zal did promise to provide was a vial, which is basically 2 applications of antitoxin per person.
Okay.
So that will be that was one thing that I had put in my notes. That will be available to you in the provisions when you come back in the evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then I just want to, Rance wants to get some healing potions, then potions of whatever lesser healing it is, and or greater healing if there happens to be any. I'm trying to see how many bolts he has. I've got 37 bolts, so that's fine. And then Rance is going to maybe go check in with Asha Tanner and give her his notice that he's found other employment.
Okay. So you know that the likelihood of buying healing potions would be highest at the Winding Trail, the outfitter.
So Rance will go and he will break the news to her and then buy the potions to um, soothe um, the, the dreadful blow this will be to her
Sure.
employment.
Yes. Yeah. So you can make your way over to the winding trail. We'll do the Teshford bit in a minute. Um, Viz, what will your plan be?
Well, knowing that Rue and Ronvin are heading to the Teshford, Viz is going to disappear and take off. And if you'll recall, at one point he hid a document in the roof gables somewhere of a house that would keep it dry, safe, away from vermin, etc., etc.
Yes.
And he's going to that location to locate the document again, tuck it away, and do something with it.
Okay. We can RP that also in a moment. So we'll go ahead and start with Rance. You're going to head over to the Winding Trail, which is out the main gate and out at the second intersection where the road forks on the north side of the Tesh River. You feel the warmth of the sun upon you. It's a beautiful late summer morning. It's a dry air mass, not a lot of humidity today. And you hear the familiar, never-ending roar of Dagger Falls upstream as Rue and Ronvin, they split from Rance. Viz has seemingly disappeared, as he's customary behavior. So Rance, you make your way over to the Winding Trail. And there are a couple of wagons tied out front. There's a couple horses. The usual hustle and bustle. There's a wagon being loaded in the back, and that's where you were kind of a teamster there, loading and unloading and things. So you can go in if you like.
Sure. Rance will go in and make his way up to Asha Tanner's office and attempt to talk to her.
All right. So you enter, and there's looks like a group of dwarves are in there, 5 of them, and they look like they may be outfitting themselves for some sort of travel caravan. Pitons, rope.
Do I recognize them either from? Are they either the dwarves we met on the road or the dwarves the seven dwarves who we almost got into a bar fight with?
Roll perception.
14.
Yeah, these guys don't look familiar.
Rance slowly takes his hand off his cutlass.
Yeah, they're kind of arguing about what things should cost and how many of what they need, and there's just this side of a shoving match as they're trying to sort through some things. And you can easily head up to the kind of the service counter area, and you do see the familiar face of one Asha Tanner, the proprietor of the Winding Trail. She steps up.
So,
hey, where have you been?
We needs to natter about a few things.
We do. Your word, for one. Where you been? You should have been working all this week. You don't just wander off and expect to walk back in here and have a job. She's short, dark hair, piercing blue eyes, 5'10", 155. Looks like maybe mid to late 20s. Very hard and cold. She's kind of scowls at you.
So he thinks for a moment. He says, Zal, the proprietor of this little village, press ganged me into his services. Can't very well say no to him now, can I?
Kind of turns her head. What do you mean press ganged you into his services?
Well, let's just say that me former life has caught up for me. So it was either serve Zal or it be the hangman's noose for me.
Roll deception.
Oh, I will roll deception. 27.
Nice.
Holy shit. She kind of
He
scowls.
is a pirate.
That man's always poaching my boys. Well, you were good while I had you, but I don't appreciate you stepping out and not leaving word, and you're not getting paid for those lost days.
Here, let me make it up to you. I needs to be buying a whole ton of potions, healing potions for a endeavor we might be in going on in the near future.
She kind of holds up her hand, kind of cuts you off, like she's not really that impressed. I mean, you should know by now I don't sell healing potions by the ton, but I do have 2.
2.
They're at 125 gold each,
Rance kind of scowls.
and I'll not budge off of that number, especially for the likes of you.
Rance pops down. So 100. So it's 250. He puts down 275. He puts down an extra 25 gold, and he says, "Just because you're a good-looking lass, I'll give you an extra 25."
She kind of regards you. Her hand kind of drops to her sword hilt. Well, that does sort of make up for the lost work. She reaches across with a gauntleted hand and grips your, assuming you offer your handshake.
Yep, Rance gladly does it, and waits to receive his 2 potions.
You're a bit of a scallywag, but you did work well when you worked.
I take it as a compliment.
Well, in that regard, then, consider yourself relieved on good terms. But if you expect to come back in here and work again and earn any of my coin, we're going to have a different arrangement.
Understood. So he
She leaves the
goes
coin
out.
on the counter and says, "Wait here,"
Mhm.
and she disappears into the back. And you know she has a very secure, locked area back there, in an inner room, away from prying eyes, where all of her most finest sundries are kept. And within a twinkling, she returns with 2 wrapped, and by wrapped, I mean like wrapped in cloth kind of bundles, and she sets them on the counter and scoops the coin into a bucket that's attached to the back of the counter.
Okay. And so he'll take them, put them in his sack, and he'll go out and make his way over to the stable master. Because did we bring back?
Oh, yeah, you did.
We did.
Yeah, it came back with
but-
all. Remember, because you hauled back. Now, wait a minute. Did you bring back a different wagon, a bigger one?
No, we brought back
Because
we
you
brought
came back with
the
a wagon because you brought back the contents of, the weapons caches and things that were
Yep,
buried.
but it was it was probably very banged up.
It was damaged. I recall there being some damage that Ronvin was attempting to repair when the thugs rode up.
Yeah, because the manticores.
Yeah.
No,
Because I was
actually,
hiding. I was hiding
it
under the
was
wagon.
It was the stone guys.
Yeah, the Galeb Dur
Gal-
hurled stones and cracked part of the front plate of the wagon that had to be mended, and then I think somebody might have used some of that for firewood and all sorts of things. So the wagon's probably not in as good a condition as when you hired it out.
We aren't getting our deposit back.
So while these guys are at the Teshford, Rance will just kind of make his way around to the different people who he worked with and chat with them a little
Yeah.
bit.
Okay. Yeah, and you can square up with the wagon and all that, so I don't think we need to RP that all out. Yeah, so you managed to say your goodbyes and all of that tearful, emotional stuff with your fellow Teamsters and dock workers. And let's cut to Viz. You're going to flit about the rooftops of Dagger Falls looking for the place, the location where you stashed the document, correct?
That is correct.
Excellent.
Wouldn't be surprised if I don't remember where it is.
Roll intelligence.
That's 12.
What is your int?
That's 12 as well.
Okay. If you burn a +2, because I set you at a DC 14, you would make it.
I will burn a +2 then.
Yeah, so it takes you a while. You go to a house. Oh, that's not it. Ooh, oh, that's not it. And finally, along the north wall, actually not that far from the Lord's Keep, you finally remember. Oh yeah, you finally remember the home that you stashed up in the gable end of the roof. The document.
Excellent. Is it still there?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. Even better. Right, so I'll carefully pull it out, try not to be seen, and take back up to the skies, high up, and make my way to the Tushford Arms.
With the document in hand?
With the document sort of in hand, underarm, folded up as best I can.
Excellent. Okay, so you make your way to the Teshford. Rance will eventually get there. Let's, Ronvin and Rue, you make your way out of Dagger Falls across the Tesh River. Again, the roar of the falls upstream, the rocky, quick-moving river swirling beneath the bridge, and you see the beautiful mint fields north and below, because the Teshford Arms does sit up on a rather lovely hill in front of the woods that borders it to the south and west. And as you're passing by the mint fields, the breeze blows across them, and you're almost somewhat a little bit invigorated by the familiar scent of mint upon the breeze. And it feels, now that you've been here and gone a number of times, it feels welcoming and homelike to you. You get this warmth of invigoration and happiness as you head up the road and then turn right up the lane and onto the sweeping porch of the Teshford Arms, which is once again strewn with rustic furniture, tables, chairs, 6-8 people engaged in conversation. You get a couple of smiles and waves. Clearly travelers, folks you've not seen before. And you make your way in. It is, what did we decide, mid-morning. And so it is not that busy right now. There is a fire on the hearth because Oliver always keeps a fire on the hearth, never mind the season. There's a couple of regulars seated at the bar. There's a table or two with some regular folk, coffee, discussion, more of the graybeards of Dagger Falls solving the world's, issues and curing the world's ailments. And it appears to be just another pleasant day at the Teshford Arms.
Well, Runvin, if you want to pick out some cupcakes, I want to have a quick word with Oliver. I'll find us some tea as well.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of hungry, so I'm thinking about breakfast and cupcakes to go, since we're going to be stuck in that wagon for a while anyways.
Good to me.
Yep.
And
you know what? How about I go sit down and order some tea and order myself some breakfast, and I'll just want some mint chocolate. Mint chocolate is great.
Okay.
And then, she moseys off and, finds a seat, giving him some space.
excellent.
Because we might not know who she is, but we know he has a special relationship with her.
Right.
Because it shows.
Yep. So yeah, you make your way. It's no problem finding a table, and you sit down and excuse me, goodness gracious. Elena Heatherdell, mother of the formerly deceased Larissa Heatherdell, now resurrected or raised. But Elena comes out in her aprons and, oh, Miss Ronvin, 'tis good to see you. What can I get for you this morning? It's been some time, a week perhaps.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely up for some breakfast, some good bread, some fried potatoes, the works, and some mint tea, please.
Of course, right away. Any sweets from Din in the back?
Oh, oh no, my comrade is going to take care of that. But thank you.
She kind of winks at you, nods knowingly
Yeah.
at your mention of your comrade taking care of that. And she goes to get you your tea and brings it back very quickly and then sees to it that your breakfast is prepared.
Oh, can I get another cup for my friend too before I
Oh,
forget?
yes, of course. I'll bring a pot of hot water and extra tea.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So she vanishes, and you sip your tea, or probably steep your tea first and then sip it. Rue, you don't have any problem finding Oliver. He's behind the bar, then he's out the back and back in and doing Oliver things. Very busy, very busy. And you finally catch his eye and he stops. Oh, hello, Rue. Good to see you. It's been some
Good morning,
time.
Oliver. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. You look rather well used. Been on the road, I take it.
It feels like it's been about 6 weeks since I've seen you.
Well, it's only been one, but you look like it's been six. So hopefully you've got time for a good rest before you are off doing whatever it is you're doing.
Oh, we'll see. Has there been a message brought by from me? Someone from the temple mentioned that they might leave word with you for me.
He kind of looks at you. I don't recall one. Perhaps you might jog my memory with a message in Zoom. And he kind of winks at you. I don't recall. I could check my messages. You know my memory. I'm getting old, but I do keep messages when I receive them. I'd be happy to. Careful, someone's stealthing on you. Yeah.
Yes, I
Stream
noticed
kitty
that.
back
So
there.
out of character, this was Rue had gone to see Lady Tiffin at the temple,
Remember that?
and she was going to leave the name of an acolyte with Oliver that might take Rue under their wing.
Oh yes. Gotcha, man. I'd forgotten all about that. Thank you.
Or-
Let me go back and check my messages and see if there's anything here for you. I apologize. I have to check and see. My memory is not what it used to be. Can I get you anything
No
to eat or
worries, of
drink?
course. No, Runvin is taking care of that. I'm just gonna go and pick up a few mint cupcakes and then.
Yes, Din's been asking
set.
if you've been in, so she'll be happy to see you.
Yes, no doubt.
He kind of stands there and studies you a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yes, she'll be glad indeed.
Rue kind of gives him like a guilty type of look. Like he got caught doing something he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I rolled a 19 on the die for insight.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So then he's just gonna shrug it off, and he will head back to find Din.
Yeah. So you make your way back around the corner past the bar where Din's dumplings and desserts little kind of corner is, and you don't even get halfway down the bar and you can smell the wonderful smells of powdered sugar and fresh baked breads and that amalgam of baked goods smell, the rich chocolate mint cupcakes. all of that. And you come around the corner to her area there, her little corner of the Teshford, and the smell just almost overwhelms you. You've been on the road a week, and you've stared death in the face, battled manticores and stone elementals and goodness knows. And you're just overwhelmed with the smell of fresh baked goods and the smile upon Din's face as she absolutely illuminates when she sees you. Tis good to see you.
Well,
She
good morning.
Comes
How are
around the counter and hugs you rather vigorously.
Rue quickly looks around to see if anybody's paying attention.
She seems to not either remember to be chill or what. Maybe she's just overwhelmed, but she hugs you very tightly, her small arms, firmly grasped around your neck.
Yeah, Rue's very tense at first, but he melts into it eventually.
How are you? You are safe, I hope. She kind of backs off and sort of collects herself and dusts off her apron and pulls it
Yeah,
down.
Rue kind of makes the same type of gesture. Yeah, yes. Well, business is good.
Yes, of course.
Things are well.
Very, very well.
My companion was asking about some of your mint cupcakes. I just sort of tolerate them, but she can't get enough of them.
You merely tolerate my... I see. Well,
They're not the
seems
worst thing I've ever.
she kind of looks around. Seems maybe I'm all out of them. Gosh, that's unfortunate. I mean,
Oh yes, my colleague would certainly be devastated if that were the case.
how many do we need?
Oh, I think 2 dozen should cover it for the day at least.
For her, of course.
Yes,
All
all
for
for
her,
her.
yes,
Yes.
So she immediately sets about. Would
I
you
might
like these?
I might eat a few just to make her not feel as bad.
Assuage her guilt. Yes, I know.
Oh, exactly.
Yes. She kind of rolls her eyes and packages them up for travel, and slides them across the counter.
As she's like busy getting the cupcakes together, I would like to try to sleight of hand to hide slipping a small bag of gold, a bag of gold behind the counter somewhere where she'll find it later.
Okay.
I'm gonna burn an advantage on this because I don't want to be caught doing it.
Okay. Yeah, she's fussing about getting the box, that she uses for the basket that she uses to wrap her basket and cloth to wrap the cupcakes.
That is a 10 with 2 natural 3s.
Wow. Yeah, so you're kind of trying to, lean against the counter and be nonchalant and kind of slide this, and a coin falls out of it and tink tink on the floor, and she stops. What's that?
I'm just gonna play it off. Oh, just dropped a coin here. Just gonna grab that.
Roll deception.
My dice are apparently very cold after 6 weeks.
Nice.
That is a 14.
Okay. She winks at you. I'm doing just fine. I really don't need your coin.
Right.
But if you insist. And she snatches the bag and kind of stuffs it down her shirt. Leans in really quick and gives you a kiss on the cheek. Pushes the basket of still warm cupcakes.
Yeah, he's gonna pull away when she goes to do that.
Okay.
And just kind of like very pointedly shoot a glance back towards the where everybody else is in the test bird, and just kind of, damn, please.
You guys are around the corner So somebody would have to be like coming in the main entrance at that moment, or maybe the staff coming out from where she prepares her baked goods, or from around the bar. And you're alone. I know. I just
Yeah,
miss
he's
you.
definitely being a jerk.
I just miss you. Don't be an ass. So, how long will you be here?
About 6 hours.
6 hours.
Yep. Gotta go off on our next adventure.
Please take care of yourself. When will you be back?
This should be a quick trip. We're in the next day or two.
I will. See that you take care of yourself.
It's gonna take one last glance back towards the dining room, and then
When do these trips end? When do you just have life? Where you're just normal?
to get back to you on that.
I see. Well, I'm not going anywhere. You'll know where to find me.
You be careful too, Din. I worry about you.
Oh, I'm fine here. I don't leave the place much. I sometimes go into Dagger Falls, usually with someone, one of the stablemen, or maybe the girls. But I pretty much stay here.
Yes, well, there are two many Zentarm around here for my liking.
Understood. You know that Oliver has set her up with a small. It's almost like a mother-in-law suite, very small, like a 2-room little cottage back in the trees, sort of behind the stable. There's a like a cobble path that goes back there, and it's within earshot of the stable, and you know that they keep an eye on her. So I mean, not that would stop somebody with a sharp piece of metal, but you're at least you're aware that she's. Yeah, it's right behind the stables. Yeah.
Perfect.
So you're at least aware that Oliver keeps an eye on her and the staff, and she's kind of become part of the Teshford Arms family.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Well,
as you're wrapping up, Oliver comes barreling around the corner. I thought I'd find you back here. Din, good to see you. Don't want to interrupt anything. And he hands you a slip of paper, parchment. Probably not parchment, just paper. The message from Tiffin that you were looking for.
Perfect. Thank you, Albert.
And I believe Miss Ronvin is awaiting your company in the dining room. She has tea for 2 and quite a spread of potatoes and, well, Ronvin. So breakfast
I
is
think it's
ready.
less my company and more the company lifts the boxes of cupcakes.
He
more
kind of
these company
smirks. That's become a thing here. Your friend Din here has really made a name for herself locally with her baked goods, haven't you, sweetie? And he kind of, gives her a little shoulder, elbow, as if, fun, pleasant Uncle Oliver kind of guy, nothing weird or creepy, And she kind of nudges him back.
Right. Well, I better get these back to London then.
Yes, well, fairly well then. Good to see you again, Master Rue. She's all professional and very distant all at once, and just kind of turns on her heel and goes back into the back through the swinging doors, presumably to get back to work.
I'll head to the dining room.
Yeah, Ronvin's there with her roast potatoes, right? And her, what else did you order, Ronvin?
Like fresh bread with butter,
Yeah.
some bacon.
Yeah,
the
the
pigs
kind
are
of
still
bread
on the
that
list.
you go to pull it apart and it almost burn you. It's warm. It's that warm. They brought it right off the hearth of the stone oven, and it steams when you tear it open. And it's got that hard rind crust, and then inside is like the fluff of a cloud. And
Good
there's
chewy bread.
the mint honey butter that you've grown accustomed to, and then the nice garlic and onion roasted potatoes. And in comes Rue.
Yes. Okay. It'll just kind of slide
So
into the seat.
your cup is right there. You just got to pour some, And she's like digging in some more.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Totally food motivated here. And that's all Wiley's fault because he's so good at describing stuff.
Right?
He always makes me hungry.
Always.
So did you get the cupcakes? And
I did.
some talking time.
Yes, and he'll kind of open one of the boxes and waft it under her nose.
Oh, I can't have one now. I gotta finish my potatoes first. Together that just tastes weird.
I won't tell anyone if you won't.
No, that's yucky because you know what? I tried that. No, we're not doing that again.
Yeah, and we'll sit and dig in.
All right, so the bread is wonderful as always. The butter is sublime. That honey with that freshness of mint. It's almost like it's not medicine-y like Hall's mentholyptus is, but it gives you that sort of opens your sinuses a little bit, and the butter is just absolute fresh, churned, creamy with that honey sweet to it. And the potatoes are tangy, roasty, garlicky, oniony, and of course the mint tea. So, Rance and Viz, do you guys join your associates, fellow members of the company, the Iron Phoenix?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Rance will make sure that he goes in, and when he sees them, he'll sit down and wave himself over the barkeep or the waitress and get himself some rum.
Yeah. They bring you a bottle. They've kind of grown accustomed to your consumption, and so rather than a glass or some sort of drink with rum or a shot, they just bring you the bottle. They don't even bother to uncork it, just a bottle in a rocks glass. And for you, and again, it's Elena, the main server. And she looks at Viz. What can we get for you, sweetie?
Oh, I'm not there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. So she's just kind of talking to herself, Yeah. All right. So very good.
And how is Larissa doing?
Oh, she's recovering. I think she'll be back to work next week. We can't thank you. I wish we could do more to repay your kindness. What a time.
I'm just glad that we're over.
And poor Orthron won't forgive himself. We don't blame him. It's not his fault. But he's gone pretty hard on himself over the whole affair. But yes, she's fine. I'll tell her you said hello.
Good. Thank you.
She should be back to work next week, hopefully. And she scuttles off, doing her cleaning and organizing, side work, all things that she customarily does. It's late morning. Fire crackling on the hearth.
I will take a look at the paper that I got. I forgot to do that.
Yes. Rue, come to the temple and look for Velxi Maluta. And it's spelled Velxe. I'll type it in chat. Whoops. I'll type it correctly in chat. Come find Acolyte Velxi Maluta. He can help you with what you're seeking.
Okay.
And then it's Tiffin at the bottom. And it's like a bold script. Everything's all in capitals. Very neat. as one
All
might
right, I'll tuck
expect.
that away for later.
Very well. So it's breakfast. Rance is having his rum. There's bread, there's potatoes, there's mint tea. Fairly quiet. A couple of the tables have since gotten up and paid and left, and it is your group that remains in the tap room. The fire on the hearth continues to burn. Windows are open. It's a very nice, pleasant, low 60s Fahrenheit, very, very not humid morning. Late summer.
So Viz has taken to the air with this document. He's flying around town trying to be unseen, fairly high up. Makes his way to the Teshford, goes in through one of the upper windows, makes his way down to the common area, but at the rafter level.
Okay.
And when he spies the group, and Rue particularly, will aim for a specific spot on the table and then sort of helicopter down like a maple key
Oh, yeah.
all the way down to the table, just because he can, barely avoiding Rue's plate and mug. Land on his feet very gracefully with his back to Rue, at which point he will dizzily turn around and say, "Oh, there you are. And here I am. Here." Hands you the document. "Have this. We might need it."
I will take it from you.
It's a very worn, ink-stained document. And if you open it up, it is the get out of jail free card that Ash Tanner had in her strongbox, which of course you don't know the origin or the of this, but that's just to remind Scott of what the document is. And it is signed by some wolf or something.
So you had not told us about this before?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that
This
will be
is-
signed by. Hang on.
The dragon lord lady, right?
Yeah, it's someone up high up there.
Jamna Gleam Silver, the R Dragon.
Our dragon. That's the word I was looking for.
Dragon.
And it does not have Tana's. It does not have Ash's name on it.
It is a generic document that has nobody's name on it. It's a thing that you show people who are Zentarum and they just don't bother you and continue on.
Where did this come from, Viz?
I just gave it to you.
Yes. And where did you
Just
get it?
gave it to you.
Oh, pure in there. I picked it up under the gable of a house.
What?
Yeah.
How did you find it?
I went looking for it.
It just kind of looks over at Ronvin and sorry,
Rance.
character's name just Rance. Thank you. Just kind of like, what?
Rance just laughs and says, "Ah, he is a wee scallywag, isn't he?"
At this point, Viz has lost some of his dizziness, buys a cupcake, and heads toward it.
Okay. We will just check the document away because clearly Viz doesn't want to tell him anything about it.
You've been told the literal truth of the provenance of that document.
Yeah, it's basically a, in Zentarum legalese, the bearer of this document shall be given all, rights and privileges accorded a guest of the Zentarum, that kind of a thing. Get out of jail free card, basically. And it's signed Jamna Gleamsilver, our Dragon of Zental Keep. And I think this is a great place for us to hit pause in our story. From here to the party, I assume you guys are all going to rest.
Yep.
Get yourselves a snooze. Get cleaned up, whatever the case may be. So next time, 2 weeks from tonight, we will pick up with you meeting Zal at the constabulary. Does that sound good? You'll be on the road to Snowmantle.
On the road again.
All right, excellent. Well, let's go around real quick and do a quick outro. Just tell us if there is anywhere where we can find you online if anybody wants to stalk you or watch you do other cool things on the interwebs.
Please don't stalk us.
And we'll go with ladies first, as is customary. So, Ronvin, Vivi?
All right. The one time that I'm actually like, I gotta look a couple places up because I overbooked myself. All right. So I am Vivi. I play Ronvin here on Mondays, now whereas every second Monday. This week I am busy. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. EST, I am playing 5E one shot, where I've forgotten this channel and I was called on first, so now I don't remember which channel it is. And that on Thursday on the same channel at 7 p.m. I'm going to play Blades in the Dark, which I am very, very much looking forward to. Yes. And yeah. The rest is offline.
Gotcha. All right. Very good. Rue.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew, aka Fellowship of the Tables. Pretty low social media presence, but you can mainly find me on the Discords. Yeah, that's about it right now.
Come on. Awesome. And you can see in the chat there, I posted the game schedule, and Andrew posted the Discord link, so please avail yourselves of our Discord community. Rance, where can we find you, sir?
I'm Matthew Mateus. You can find me on Twitter, PR Mateus, Matteus. You can also find me hanging out with this guy, Mr. DM, on Greycast, to my knowledge, only Greyhawk podcast, although I'm not in the episode this week, and I don't believe the DM is in the episode in 2 weeks because Christmas.
Yes, but we managed to soldier through it, and we keep ourselves on track.
And this is the only real online public Greyhawk D&D thing I do. I also play another little Greyhawk game, which is going to be starting up soon, with Oblivion Seeker, who happens to be a guy who we put on the podcast quite a bit. So I'm looking forward to starting that on Saturday.
Awesome. Good luck with that, man. Will that be streamed or no?
No, it's in his Discord.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's good. It's we're going to the Bone March.
Ooh.
And I'm playing Corin Littlefoot, a halfling from Mystara who ran afoul of the Feywild and got himself placed in Greyhawk, and he has no way to go home.
Wow. Never laugh at live dragons, Bilbo, you fool, or piss off the Fey. So there you go, man. Words to live by. Excellent. Well, that'll be a cool game, man. All right, last but not least, Dave, Viz, what's going on? Where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me, well, I won't say every social media because I'm not on everything. Truth be told, I wouldn't be caught dead on truth. Too early, too late. But I am Hey Wilson on the social medias, so Facebook, Twitter, here on Twitch as well. Probably Instagram. I don't know. Places. This is the only streamed game I play, and I have one other a game that's played online, but that'll be wrapping up for me in probably a couple of weeks, assuming that work doesn't take over, because that's a thing as well. And apparently, I'm going to have to work weekends again. So yay!
Ooh, that stinks. All right, and I'm Wally Hobbit, known by family and friends here on Earth as Scott, when I'm not pretending. Of course, DM here every other Monday, 7:30, and then we've got a new game, as you can see on the game schedule in chat, that just fired off yesterday, episode 0.5. The name of the game is Secrets of the Flaness, and we finally have what hopes to be a long-running Greyhawk campaign. That'll run every other Sunday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. You can catch that here. So 2 weeks from yesterday, that will fire again. You can find me on Twitter at Wiley Hobbit. That's the best place to see me on the socials beside our Discord, which is linked. Thank you, Andrew, in the chat. So I'm going to hit the raid button. We're going to go visit Lawful Stupid. The DM over there for this game is off the chain. His voicings are insane. It's just a great bunch, and you can win dice. I won $50 gift card to Kraken Dice last time.
This
Biddy.
exclamation point giveaway.
Yeah, they do a $15 gift card there. Every show, every stream, they do 3 or 4 streams a week. And then if they hit like a hype train, depending on how high the hype train level goes up, hype train level 5 is $50, and they did a 5-spot hype train, and I managed to score the $50. So dreams do come true. Over there on Lawful Stupid RPG. So come see us again. Thanks for hanging out. Was fun doing a little bit different format tonight to kick the game back off. And we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. So I've now hit the raid button, and hopefully things will be raiding.